turnout. Can you tell me what the wingspan is on this first of all? It's a huge airplane.
It is. It's a big airplane. It's the biggest bomber of World War II, and it has a wingspan of 142 feet.
And what kind of tonnage could it carry? Do you know for sure or not? I know it carried the big bombs for Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
They had a maximum payload of 10,000 pounds in each bomb bay, and there are 2 bomb bays, so you could carry up to 20,000 pounds of ordnance.
And the crew members, how many crew members?
They actually had 11 crew members during World War II.
Okay. Now, prior to the bombing of the atomic bombs, this plane was used a lot in firebombing of Japan, wasn't it? Incendiary devices.
That's correct. Originally, they found that the Norton bomb sight was not that accurate at the high altitudes, and they dropped down. General LeMay ordered them to drop down to low-altitude single-ship night missions, which dropped incendiary bombs to set the cities on fire.
Okay, now we're up here in the nose of this B-29, and up front you have, what kind of crew sits up front here? Behind us?
Well, we had a bombardier in the front with a good window seat. We had 2 pilots. Had the guy that does all the work sits back here. The flight engineer, he actually starts the engines, runs the engines, monitors the engines, and has about 50 gauges and about 100 switches and lights to monitor. Pilots only give us 4 gauges for the engines. They give us 2 RPM gauges and 2 manifold pressure gauges. There was also a crew position back there for the navigator, and communications was back in the forward cockpit.
Now we were chatting. The odd thing about this airplane is the nose is pressurized, the tail is pressurized, the area where the bombs is not pressurized. So to get from one end to the other end, you actually had to crawl through a 27-foot tube, you said?
That's correct. And so you can look down there, you can yell through it, and from your vantage point up here in front, you can see all the way back. In the back compartment, there's we call it the Barber's chair, and that's where the lead gunner sat. And he actually controlled all the gun positions. And then there were 2 gunners on each side of him, and there was also a tail gunner in the far back.
One of a kind now. It's the last one left in the world. What are your thoughts when you get to sit behind the controls of this B-29?
It's just an honor to fly it. You meet so many people at air shows and that. People walk up to you and, you know, my dad flew this, my grandpa did that. And in fact, we were just at Oshkosh last week, and there's still 85, 90-year-old gentlemen that flew them during the war, and they all have a story. And of course, we bring them up here, and some of those men, they take one more flight in the airplane, and they know that that's their last flight. And it's pretty inspiring to be around gentlemen like that.
You give people rides on this, I know, and it's the world's last aircraft of its kind. What do you recall some of the comments people tell you when they get off from this airplane, whether it's from the nose area where it's all glass, the bomb sites or whatever? What kind of comments do you get on?
Yeah, you get a lot of comments, certainly about people being nostalgic or having an experience, maybe a son or a grandson who had a father or a grandfather who flew on these. So there's no doubt that it has a certain connection, a certain soul to it. And that soul is kind of retold through the airplane, the stories of the men and women who flew it. I always say the men who flew it and the women who built the airplane. Of course, the airplane was constructed by a female workforce, so we're certainly proud of that fact in our American heritage.
And last question, the World War II veterans who come up to you, and they might have been on a B-29, what kind of comments do they give you when they see the old plane again?
Well, I think, initially it brings back memories of their crew, and certainly every B-29 had a very tight-knit crew. That was the way that they survived, was helping each other and working together. So I think oftentimes when the veterans come back, or they've lost a couple, either they lost them in combat or they lost them just through natural causes in old age, and they remember a lot of those good friends. So I think it's nostalgic for them, and it reminds them of some of their buddies.